we began last time, so we'll be able to pull that up. Take a look at asks that we have.
Who has the control of that?
Carrie, do you see it?
Hold on a second.
This is where we hold everyone accountable. All right. So, if we take a look at the first item, each member was to submit one idea for a community event to carry. Did you get?
I got, 3.
Pass it, take one and pass it around. Mine
Dave has
Dave got
supporting
his in writing.
documentation.
coming.
Dave has supporting documentation. Four ideas.
Okay. I got 4.
I'm gonna say that, can we mark that complete in?
Well, yeah, do we want to go through them though?
I'll kind of,
You wanted,
I'll speak
okay,
on them. So the first one I got from, Mr. Dave Ruth, it was called, one idea is called the Gateway Auction. The second one is called the Gateway Golf Cart Parade. That's, you could tie it to, Halloween, April Fools, 4th of July. The third one was a dance for Gateway, rock and roll or country music in a large tent or at the pool area. And then idea 4 was Taste of Gateway, or a series of organized community street parties, like on a monthly or 3 or 4 times a year or so. Those were Mr. Root. Mr. Leo Grande, he mentioned a couple things. He was talking about live community storytelling or reading events, which you can have puppet shows, kids book swap, crafting stations, items like that. Then Tamra had a kite festival. They usually, there's one done at Okaloosa Island off the boardwalk. That was a suggestion. And then Ken, he had also storytelling, puppet shows, fitness classes, string concerts, nature walks, community garden workshops, and food truck events.
very cool. Right. So you got some ideas, Harry, so what? Do you want these to continue and us bring an idea every month and then you pick which ones you'd like to kind of explore deeper? Like where do we go from here with these ideas?
Okay, so just kind of, if things pop in your mind, or just send them my way, and I have a folder that I put them in, and then when I go to do a calendar for the next year for events, that's where I pull from. So if you see something, just send it to me.
Sure.
And I put it in a folder. I start doing my calendar events during the summertime. Usually the fields are closed during that time, so gives me an opportunity to, and then of course the afternoon rains, gives me something to put together, so. Okay, thank you.
The next thing on the action log is the pavilion proposal to the board of supervisors. So I printed a few of these out that I left in front of you, the community pavilion proposal presentations. So the intent of this is to kind of condense down what Dave gave us last month as far as the big picture, right? I think it was extremely thorough and that's awesome, but we'd like to go in front of the board of supervisors and present this in a way where, I don't want to say it's watered down, but it's compressed, so we're not, speaking for an hour. And we could go and just give them a few slides to look at what the big picture is here. And so I put together these slides, right? Just to go through them really quick. If we start with the introduction, community pavilions. So here's the intent right now, at least from my side, is that meeting takes place at the end of this month. So we won't have another meeting before that. So I'm looking, I guess, the goal here is to get approval from everyone, sign off on what we're looking at. And on top of that, make suggestions. If you feel I need to add something that's super important, I'll jot that down and I'll make the modification to the slide, of course. Okay? Makes sense?
Yeah.
So introduction, community pavilion proposal aims to enhance our neighborhood by establishing a dedicated multi-use gathering space. This pavilion will serve as a central hub for residents to come together, engage in community activities, and create meaningful connections. Feel free to say it's nay or feel I should add something. All good there? Purpose of the pavilion on the next slide, the primary goal of the project is to construct a multifunctional community pavilion that accommodates various uses, including community events, hosting celebrations, neighborhood meetings, and social gatherings, recreational activities, providing a safe and inviting space for families, children, and individuals to enjoy, and cultural and educational programs, offering a venue for performance, workshop, and learning opportunities.
So Paul,
Yeah.
can I speak up on that one?
Sure.
So, if you're like running short on time, I'm thinking for each of those bullets, you can just read just prior to the colon, right? And not the other stuff, and just say you provided examples there if you're worried about taking a long time, because I
Yeah.
mean, you got the key elements there.
And hi, this is Carrie Runyon. Under recreational activities, I would put recreational, but also program and recreational. So put program and recreational, because it could be a program that continues on a weekly basis or a monthly basis.
Yeah, yeah.
So program and recreational. So put program in front of there, slash, would be my suggestion.
Anything else there? Dave? Oh, no, good. Okay, the next slide, community benefits. Having dedicated space for the community will provide several key advantages. Stronger community bonds, and I could do the same here too, right? So stronger community bonds encourages residents to interact, collaborate, and build relationships. Increasing property values enhances neighborhood appeal and desirability. Little real estate plug there. Events such as music, theater, storytelling, weddings, etc. Safe and accessible gathering spaces as well. A well-maintained area for both organized and informal activities, ensuring inclusivity. Thank you, for all residents. This project is a step towards creating a more connected, engaged, and vibrant community while adding long-term value to the neighborhood. Comments there? Okay, project vision and goals. The vision to create inclusive space for residents to gather, celebrate, and engage in community activities. I know I've said this before, it's just kind of different words that, promote the idea of a gathering space, right? Goals: provide a safe and accessible area for events, foster stronger community bonds, enhance property values and neighborhood appeal. Like I said before, support local initiatives and vendors too. So the idea maybe that we could open this up for some certain events where, for example, like we had the other night, a music event, somebody could come and, or maybe a theater of some type, right?
And I just, under goals, again, provide a safe and accessible area for events and programs.
Yeah.
Let's ask one question.
Sure.
And looking down the road, if all this comes to fruition, in whatever form it is, how do we advertise it? How do we tell groups of people or individuals, this is what we have? This is what you can do, and, ultimately, how do you monitor all of that?
Well, that'll be something we would all have to meet again, come up with some marketing ideas. Yeah, something, I mean, a lot of times, information can go out through, we do Facebook, but we also send information to the HOA residents,
Yeah.
the people in charge, so they can notify their members. That's always been very helpful too.
For us, over in West Haven, it's super helpful because we're a small community, we don't have a lot of our own events at all, so. Okay. Pavilion features, semi-covered area and temporary seating, or for temporary seating and tables, stage for performances and community meetings, playground, pool, pathway, and green space integrations, lighting for evening use, and ADA accessibility. So I assumed when I wrote that out, there's gonna be some comments there, but I believe there was lighting in your renders, right, Dave?
Yeah.
So I know it's in the pool area and that's a whole other can of worms, right? But
Correct, you have to have, if you're gonna have anything inside the pool area, it has to have lighting overhead. That could be something that could be added into a capital plan later down the road.
Where is this, where are you reading from?
pavilion features,
Oh, okay.
that's okay.
I'm gonna take you back to introduction.
The introduction, okay,
Introduction and purpose of the pavilion.
okay.
I really have been to so many of these CDD meetings and just, watching the people that are on the board and just myself, I'm a picture person.
Yeah.
Okay, more than a word person. You get too many words, I go to sleep. You get too many words, it becomes boring. Okay, so I would, after introduction, you're starting to talk about the purpose of the pavilion, but we have them. We have these guys because they did a master plan.
Mhm.
And on that, and I put that in our packet. In that master plan, there's a location for this.
Yep.
Okay, and I think if you put that in between introductions, and purpose of the pavilion, you can show. No, not that one. There's a.
Yeah, I know.
The original package that I put together has a master plan and it has a dot where the pavilion is, where it was proposed way back when. And that's what they paid a lot of money for. Somebody put that all together and it was been blessed by Chelsea and all the other people on the board. So if you put that, that image, to start with images, put that between introduction and purpose of the pavilion, then they'll go, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. You're waking them up to the fact that they're geniuses and they've already come up with this. Okay,
Yep,
so that's my one comment about that. Then you went to community benefits and now you're at project vision and goal.
Yeah.
Okay, now this is where you have to start, in my mind, I gave you that packet of images and I know we've talked about, color versus black and white. But if you can start to show what this is our vision. Okay, so we've got to have a big image
Okay.
showing the project vision there. And the goals of it are the words. Okay, but the image is what I hope got you guys excited. Okay. So that's all I'm gonna say about that.
no, it makes sense. Like I said, I'm not sure if we're recording yet, but the images in this, of course, everything is black and white, right? And they're small. But I intend on blowing them up and insert them at the proper places and making them color too. I had
Just when you put this,
on my phone.
when you put this in, you're gonna give this packet
I'm gonna, yeah,
to, and you just take those pieces out that we put together before.
Yeah.
And you put that in there and Georgia will put the whole thing in color or black and white or whatever the image is.
Yeah.
So you don't have to even worry about that. I know it's expensive to. You use a lot of ink. I used a lot of ink just to get you the
sure.
18 or 14 pictures.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Then after that image, you got pavilion feature.
Then I got the features and I can continue on with the rest of the images in there, right?
Yeah.
So
because
less words, more pictures,
that-
just in general. Yeah, makes sense. Okay. So yeah, the next two slides there are just kind of examples of the images, but I have a clear understanding of where they're going to be started throughout. All right. So this is really, I'm kind of looking for conversation here. This is just out of my brain. Budget and funding resources. The new community pavilion was conceived to be a simple, medium-sized, Dave, you wrote this, wood block and stucco structure sitting on a slab by the existing pond, right? The modern open pavilion that is approximately the size of basic 2,000 square feet, gateway stucco home. The front of the pavilion should allow visitors to sit on a downward sloping lawn, looking at the interior stage, platform, and a semicircular concrete outside gathering space. And the front opening is designed to be 16 feet high by 34 feet wide. So again, it's probably appropriate to insert those images there too, right?
Mhm.
I assume.
I'm just saying, you're gonna be talking, you got an image up there,
Right.
they can go.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, maybe,
the word people are gonna look at the words and what you're saying,
yeah,
listen to what you're saying, but, you know, most, again, I think the more visual you can be,
I mean,
the better you're gonna be.
I don't think it'll be any different with time, so maybe I take each one of those bullet points. Make them one slide and put the image right under it, right? So I can just go.
And you could cut down some of those bullets.
Yeah,
You can cut them down, just put a few words and then have your image. You can have your image and have like on one side of the paper, a 3/4 side of the paper, and then all your information on the left side. And then that way you could see the image while you look at that, and it makes it very simple.
And it would be somewhat enclosed, covering overhead.
it's the images that we went through last month, so yeah.
That was
still pergola kind of style, right? On the top.
I think it works better.
Then continuing on, budget and funding sources, the rear back of the pavilion should allow visitors to walk around and experience the existing neighborhood. Pond and pavilion from a raised landscape. I'm not gonna say that word, Dave. I've been looking at that all week,
Well, or does it
overlooking the water.
plinth,
Yeah,
that's just a platform.
probably won't take that out.
You already said raised.
That's
Yeah.
that's the
Raised
only
platform.
architectural term
I know. I'm just worried, like, I'm gonna stand up there and be like, I'm gonna have to practice that word, I'm gonna miss it.
I think, you know, those, somehow if you consolidate these two things or call them something different. Maybe like pavilion features.
Well,
or
you already,
something, you know, because budget and funding sources tells me something different than the structures opening and all that kind of stuff. I don't get the budget and the funding
Well,
sources
that-
with those bullets.
So this is Tamara's on, that's a great point, because so far, nothing's really about budget until that last bullet, so back to what you were talking about, maybe the image. And then almost like you do a diagram like science, where the images, like you say, the back opening, just have a line to the back opening and just put 12 by 34 feet. You know, or something, just one picture, and it could be all 7 of these bullets.
Yeah.
And then just one page would we estimate the cost to
Right,
be,
right.
you know, or something like that, to really shorten it up.
we want to name these then, let's see, so location, site plan, I guess this is
This is specifications really, or almost like.
yeah,
It's features.
or even continuation of location and site plan, right? I mean, that's really what we're for. The, features, you said, or
I would
specifications?
just call it like community. I keep thinking you have to keep using the word together,
Yeah,
community pavilion. Okay. Just, we're not just building something over here.
Right.
This is a community build, a community pavilion. This is gonna be for everybody.
Well, it is, but you're getting into the details now. So
I'm just saying, when I was thinking of this.
Yeah.
You know, how do I?
well, maybe I just do community pavilion and then specifications of that.
dash specifications.
I mean, I get turned off to things that we're proposing for the community, which doesn't, it only takes care of the children's needs, or it only takes care of the seniors' needs, but it doesn't take care of the total community.
Right.
And the more we can do for the community, the better. And I think this pavilion is for everyone. You know, all the way to, you know, to getting married there.
Yeah.
Everything, jumping and running and plays and puppet show and all the stuff you guys been talking.
Awesome.
So those,
So that, okay, so then I like that idea too, community pavilions, dash specifications on the next page, just continuing on there, that we did the first bullet. The second one,
don't call it specifications. I know she said that, but when you do specifications, you're talking about the level of detail of, you know, how you're gonna put it all together, and
Yeah.
where the lighting's gonna be, and how tall it's gonna be, how big it's gonna be. I mean, that's what some of these are, but they're really the features, I think, the design features
Well, that's good.
Okay.
Design features.
than it is, you know, specification.
Mhm.
The specifications to these guys, and you gotta understand, there's a couple of them on there that are on that board that are engineers.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Right.
those guys think of, you know.
Yeah.
They think of nickels and dimes and how it's gonna be connected and all that kind of stuff. And they're not talking big picture. They don't usually think big picture.
Right.
That's my observation.
No, that makes sense.
Okay.
So we'll name these 2 pages, community pavilion dash design features.
But I think you ought to,
Yeah, but you can maybe make it
One
one
page,
page.
one
I think it's a picture with all of these little things aligned to each thing that you're talking
Now, I'm
about.
gonna need multiple pictures, right? So I was actually thinking about separating them, each
Okay.
item out into multiple pages, having one big picture. Right? My thought is like, they're, like you were saying before, they're gonna look at this picture, right? And they're gonna hear wah, 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 but they're gonna see this big picture. Right?
the picture's what you're talking.
Right, but
Yes.
I think the first.
Then you can say anything you want, because they're looking at the picture.
Exactly, right? So if I'm like reading that second bullet, it's a modern open pavilion with the approximate size of a basic 2,000 square foot house, right? That's obviously going to be the full picture, right, the high level, full picture of the pavilion, right? Switch the slide, the front of the pavilion should show, and I know exactly what image to use. If you have that now a front, not from on top, you know. So I think I could rifle through,
Yeah,
have actually multiple slides.
because the more we can show that we've done,
Right,
the harder it is to turn it.
right, exactly.
Okay.
Okay. All right, back on the second page then, the structure, the second bullet, structure's back opening is 12 feet high by 34 feet wide. There's an image there I already have in my head that you provided. The interior sound reflecting wall is 10 feet high by it's 10 feet by 1 foot, concrete block and stucco, right? I think you have the wings showing there.
Yeah.
And that's what wall that is, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good.
The other thing about this, when you're talking about this thing,
Yep.
say this, this is a conceptual design because two of them are sitting there on that board and I know who they are. And they got an engineering firm that they always hire. They've got another person they always talk to. And they don't want to think that you or I or she designed this. This is still open. This is an open-ended thing. This is a concept only.
Right.
And, you know, this still needs to be designed. We haven't worked everything out. But if you say it like this should be, you know, this
Right.
conceptually, the way we did this was to use these dimensions. And we tried to narrow it down from a large scale.
Yeah.
A large scale pavilion, which, I went to an art show down in Bonita Springs this weekend and they have a really large in the middle of the park, pavilion, which is 3 times what this one is.
Right, right.
But that's what people think of. And that's the way we start, even with Ed's pictures.
Yep.
He started with, and that's what I took that and I started saying, what can we afford to do? And Dana said, we can't make this thing too big or, you know, I can't vote for that. You know, so we've got to keep it within bounds to where they think they still have control of what this is going to be built out of, look like and all that.
Yeah.
But this is our pass
Right.
at what we think.
Right.
And we've gone to the point of, you know, really
Conceptualization of this.
conceptually designing.
Yeah.
Now the design development can be done by their people and they can pay for whoever they want.
Okay, so then that last one, obviously that's gonna be on a different slide, and maybe that's the only budget and funding. Well, it continues on a little bit.
On your
slide.
next page with the
Right.
funding and stuff.
So maybe I bring that together, so move
Mhm.
next slide. All right, I'm just taking notes, as I'm. All Right, so then that comment, do we want to say numbers? You know, Dave, but I'm a little worried about mentioning a number. Right? So that the simple pavilion structure with landscaping should be added into the 2026 Commons Park community budget
Period.
for approximately,
I wouldn't put a
I
number.
would take it out, period, at the end of.
Yeah, they'll want to put their own number too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
How they come up with their number, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Like at this,
I'm
at this
telling you,
point-
that would be my number right there.
right.
Okay,
And that's great. I mean, internally, if that's what we feel, but
no, but I wouldn't do it. I would give.
Yeah.
I'd let them, you know, if they like the idea and they want to pursue it and they want to have somebody do a little bit of design
Sure.
development, then they can put a number together and they'll have that
Yeah.
for future board meetings.
the simple pavilion structure with landscaping should be added into the 2026 Commons Park community budget.
Period.
Okay,
That's what we're trying to do, get them to like the idea.
right, that's it.
And to not say this, well, we can't do this until 2029
Right.
because we're spending all of our, the Gateway's money on the new pickleball boards.
Well, okay, so on the next slide, I don't know if we just wipe this or what your thoughts are on it, but
Timeline?
I have my own Gateway Greens.
I don't think you're getting ahead of yourself with the timeline.
no, I'm talking about the
Oh.
next budget and funding source.
Funding,
Possible additional funding sources include, if applicable, community fundraising efforts. You see that?
Yeah.
Community fundraising efforts, grants and sponsorship, potential local government contributions, private donations and partnerships. So my, back up north, we had to fix a park scenario that we had in the town I was in, Rotary. I mean, we had the funds appropriately set aside to manage the upgrade of this park, that was fine. But we were able to really make it kind of special and unique by opening opportunities up to people and vendors in the community and contributions. So we did things like, buy a bricks, you know, where you could buy a brick that's used in the construction or, you know, donate a bench or whatever, or all that kind of stuff. Do we want to entertain that? Should we bring it up to them? Should we not go there yet? What are your thoughts?
I think you end with that page. And I mean, because Chelsea is gonna sit there and tell you all the different things that are available to the community. And, you know, all these, you know, what I always heard was all these things are gonna be paid for by all of these things. And it's not gonna cost the community all this, but now we're gonna do it, it's in a budget that comes from the Gateway Communities monies. Okay, so all these things kind of grants and sponsorships, you know, local government, all these things she brought up for the commons part,
Right,
okay? So this'll be, if she was presenting it, this'll be one of the key pages for her. And I think it's good that you recognize that these are available too.
right.
And I would end with that.
Is that fair?
I get rid of the last 3 pages.
Yeah, I wouldn't,
I'm done.
Okay. That's great.
because it's got to go before the board first, approved
Right,
by
so
the
the
board.
timeline isn't applicable yet. It's, yeah. Okay. So we could just X those out completely. Community involvement, next step, I think that comes to fruition as we proceed on. And then, well, the closing remarks, of course, I'll have the last slide, I'll just do there any comments. Okay,
I'm just asking for,
yeah. any questions?
did Ed help you with this at all?
I've not gotten a chance.
Is
to-
Ed going to the meeting?
I'm hoping,
I'm just asking amongst the
yeah,
friends. Okay,
I'm hoping.
so someone will give him an assignment to. Not with regards to this, but I know.
Gotcha. Harry, you beeping? Who's beeping?
That's me, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I just want to, it's fun.
Something's going to go off.
My heart.
Here we go again.
Listen, I don't hear this.
Yeah.
All right.
Pam has to wake me up.
All right. So, no, it's no problem. Thank you, everyone, for putting up with me there.
That's good. It's a lot of work.
So what's next?
So this is Carrie running again. Dave gave me the dimensions of the proposed track for the fun park. And before we invest in staffing to try to figure out numbers and everything, this again would have to be, need to go above the, before the board to be approved before we use staff to go forward and get numbers and costs.
So we have two major initiatives, right? It seems like we have this, we have the fun park, and we have this pavilion concept. So I guess my question would be, what do we address first? Right? Is it too much to bring to that?
Can I give you a suggestion? I would go to the comments first, the pavilion, since that is right there in front of them now. Because you're not gonna be able to do anything with the fun park while they're building the commons park. Okay, because your funding is gonna be limited at that time. So that's why I would bring that, the,
So your
Pavilion.
Your presentation is gonna go first at the end of this month.
yes,
And I have provided a packet, just like we did before, at the end of this, we'll talk about it. It needs to be presented.
Yeah.
Month from now, 2 months from now,
now, whatever.
knowing that it's gonna be maybe 2027, 28.
Right, right.
That the fun park, we just want to put into their mind that we have a concept.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't need to be a field over there that it's mowed every so often. And it never becomes anything else. There's basic, simple things that we want to get fixed, which will help carry. Playground and the basketball. And I'm gonna ask Ed to present that.
So this is Tamara Zahn, and Paul, you just brought up something that I had on my notes to talk about, because I think what you're saying is we got two big projects and we want to make sure we don't end up like past and not get something to the board in time, right?
Right.
So if these are our two main things that are going to be our focus to get to the board, then those are our goals for this year. You're going to get that one this month to them. And then, as you say, maybe we'll get that electronically, your other one that we looked at last month, and we can kind of all provide our input as to, keeping it short, photos, things like that.
Same thing.
And we could do that at the next meeting or the one after that and get that one ready to go. And those are going to be our two main goals for this year.
Yeah,
I think, they're gonna be putting their budgets together, starting April 1, I believe. That's what
Well-
they normally do it.
they're putting their budgets together right now.
Well, yeah, I'm saying, they will start to talk about it. I mean,
Yep. It'll be on the
they're putting
next,
it together right now,
agenda.
you're right.
Yep.
But, if we got our stuff in the hopper, end of April.
Yeah.
If Ed could do this same thing with April.
because we do provide a 5-year capital plan.
Yeah.
So, and then every year we add to that
I
capital
mean,
plan.
yeah,
But none of them are talking about the fun park at all.
right.
Okay.
And I think that the benefit funding wise to the fun park is it's an expandable project. It's not like we're saying, boom, we want this, everything done all at once, right? It's like we want the maze and then we want the track and then we can continue to grow that over time. But I also don't want to bombard them. I agree. I don't want to bring everything to them in one meeting. They're gonna,
No,
what?
no.
Yeah, right. So, okay, that makes sense.
So I'm gonna mark that, this is Tamara Zahn. I'll mark the second item on the group complete because Ed did do that, the next morning, gave her those items.
Dave,
Dave.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Financial details, to be honest, I'm still confused with financial details.
I did review them. This is Tamara Zahn, and I threw out a few questions just for the meeting if you want to go over them or we can wait.
Absolutely.
Let's wait till we get to the
Aren't we there?
financial. Oh, we are? I thought we were gonna.
Well, okay, so then,
Each one.
yeah, we're
Yeah,
doing each.
have we done each one? of them? Deep dive the
That's
financial
where-
detail, okay. Okay,
So we could wrap this into.
we're done.
what questions you just have.
Oh, okay.
Go on.
On the budget, there's two columns there, let's see here. See which one it was. Going to. And Dave, this one was yours, I think, your page, right? So this column here, the GSCDD, where it has,
That's this stuff here.
allocated expenses, like there's two, so it is
This
allocated.
this is what it is now. This is the column now. Okay, that's what her numbers are broken
Right.
down into. Okay,
Okay, so,
so there's three columns. This is what we started with, which you weren't here.
Yep.
When we started with all of these pieces.
Yep.
Okay, then it was kind of like condensed to say, well, here's what we're gonna do for the dog park. And here's what we're gonna do for the pool.
and this was the Board of Supervisors column with their
That's
numbers?
this thing that we get to approve each
Okay,
time.
okay.
My fear is when we get these things, we look
You
at
don't
it,
see
we
the
go,
detail.
I don't
agree.
see any
Yeah.
details. So I'm sitting there going, I don't know if there is a fun park,
Got it.
number.
Yeah.
I don't know if there
Right.
any more that we're gonna get for the pool. I don't.
Or
know.
even in the pavilion, is that gonna go into the Commons Park construction? Is that part of that?
Yeah.
Like, what, yeah.
I
There's
don't-
no way to know.
I don't know
Yeah.
where the landscaping and monument, this was not meant to stir up the pot.
Right.
This was meant to share with you and Dana, kind of where we've been and what we're getting given every month. That we all kind of go, well, I approve, but all we're gonna be done is we're gonna be used to say, well, you guys approved the budget. And I don't wanna sit in a situation where I'm
So
being
Carrie,
used.
Mhm.
it sounds like,
We need more detail.
yeah, is that an action? Is that something we can go back and say, hey,
You're
for the
requesting-
budget, we would like more detail, and it could be similar to what Dave has provided as an example. More detail, because I agree. I mean, as I was looking at these, taking the time to read them, I thought, well, Parks and Rec, fields and amenities, what's that? Perimeter fencing for where? There was a lot of things that we didn't, and maybe they have it somewhere. We just need to be educated where to go look. I
A lot
don't
of
know.
it could have been discussed at a meeting they held too. This is just summarizing it.
Right, but we're signing off.
Right, but
David's saying is that
if we're signing off on
we're
it,
responsible.
we need
to
to,
sign
we
off.
need, we need to pack it.
I agree.
everything.
But the
It may
biggest
make more
problem
sense
is
to
when the
them.
committee was formed. We were told not to even think about what things were gonna cost. We're just an idea group.
Well, then
Well,
we should,
then
we should not have this as a line item in the meeting,
Exactly.
right?
That's,
So let's say that, if they're saying that we're responsible to sign off on this, need the detail to sign off on this. And if they don't want to provide the detail to sign off on this, then we don't add this to the meeting. I'm not signing off on a number that I don't know anything about.
Yeah, yeah.
but Lori, that's the way Lori does things.
Well, we
She
can,
knows the numbers.
That's great,
But we don't.
but we in this room, now we have to say, do we approve of the financial report? I don't know.
I don't think you have to approve the financial report. I think you're just looking over and asking any questions, but I don't think you technically have to approve it.
Well,
But
I think we as
Listen to the question.
It's,
I think we as a committee have a responsibility to the resident before we can.
if I agree, if we're going to propose ideas as to how we would like to see Parks and Rec improved in the community, we have to know what we're dealing with budget wise.
So what you're saying is you want to see a budget of O&M and then the other part
Yeah.
of capital
Yeah, yes,
for the current fiscal year.
correct.
Okay, then I will seek advice from those above me. I will let you know.
and then one of my other questions was, if it says under annual budget and the dollar amount, does that mean that amount we have, it's
That was already put in for the
Right.
budget for this year. And then YTD is items that have already been paid, and then encumbered means sometimes you have a contract and for 12 months, it's $12,000. So we do one purchase order for 12,000 and we pull from it.
Okay.
That's what encumbered is.
And then this question, my last one, it may not be applicable because I may not have realized, like, it seems like when we do get the report, this high level, if these items had some kind of numbering system so that when we did get a detail, it correlated, so you know what correlates to each
What do you mean?
budget item. Well, you know, on the report that we get,
Mhm.
here, the summary, and that's what I'm saying, it may not be applicable right now, because if that number correlated, if those were numbered so that it correlated to the detail underneath it, like if we're getting a separate detail list, but that was Dave's detail list, so
Right.
maybe that's
But
not really applicable.
That
Once
was
we get
our
the O&M,
detail
yeah.
list and that, you know.
And it was a guess.
When the guesses here, these are the numbers we were all given, that we all worked at. That what I was getting to was that, you know, it was a lot easier if we knew what the dog park, what had been earmarked for the dog park.
Right,
Okay,
What
the
was
dog
separated
park
out.
goes away, then where did that money go?
right.
Okay, then it went to, you know, what's happened with the arm, what is it, the automatic gate at the Sherman soccer field. Okay, I don't know where that is on this thing that we've been given today.
Right.
Then, you know, then the commons pool, if it was broken down into all of the elements of Parks and Rec, you know, it would be helpful to us to know, I mean, to me, if there's no money allocated for, let's say, a linear park,
Right.
then there's no point in
Why
talking
are we
about
gonna
it.
talk about it?
Right.
I agree.
And if it's not until 2029 that we're gonna paint,
Why are we
One-
spending longer to talk about it tonight?
then we'll talk about it then.
Makes sense.
So this is Tamara one more time. So Carrie, I'm gonna add this to the list. We're gonna ask for the O and M and the
O&M and capital.
capital. Thank you.
And let me just kind of give you an update on the doors at the pool. So, we talked to the contractors and they're gonna be starting at the end of April. We want to make sure that, you know, we have a lot of people at the pool right now because it's season. We don't want to be ripping doors out right in the middle of the season and shutting bathrooms. So, they're gonna be starting the last week of April, first week of May. Okay,
And that's all taken care of, it's all paid for, ready to go.
yep, that's all ready to go.
How long is the construction expected to be?
They said like maybe 3 to 4 days.
Oh,
And they're gonna do it in sections, like they'll do this building.
yeah. All right, so that is the end of the February log updates, approval of the minutes. I read through last meeting's minutes and didn't see any issues there.
What minutes?
Approval of the minutes, last meetings. Did you know about last meetings?
The minutes, there were any minutes in this today.
No, they weren't, they don't have them.
February 4th.
Yeah, they don't have them attached there, that's the thing. So I was a little confused, I even asked
Did you
Carrie.
see the February 4th? meeting?
They're not on the screen.
Yeah.
But they're asking us to.
How did you see?
Online.
Huh?
Online. They were online. Unless I was looking at the previous months, hang on,
I think you were looking at
was I?
the last month. Well, I don't know. I've copied everything off. They weren't in my.
Oh, yeah, no, this past one isn't online either.
Okay, so we have no,
Push that.
We have no.
no approval of February minutes.
Right.
Yeah,
And that, was that maybe because the volume wasn't working?
That might have been.
oh, might be,
Remember we had the sound problem last time?
maybe it wasn't fully recorded.
It takes,
I tried to listen to a couple of it. You couldn't hear anything.
no, it takes, there's another way they record it through Teams and now it's it's gonna take longer.
Okay.
So it'll get done, but it just won't be done.
Okay,
It takes a couple months.
So move.
so what do we say to that? Just that pending approval?
Push it to
Yeah.
next month.
We'll postpone approval of February's meeting minutes. Do we need to? We don't.
Yes,
Yes, we do.
yes, you
I'd
do.
like to make a motion to suspend the approval of the last month's meeting minutes to next month.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right?
Passes. Financial report, we already looked at. Any further discussion on that?
No, you don't have to put it.
Good. Okay. Items for discussion, we have new member selection recommendations. There were two up there. We'll go through each one. Is Sam present
There's Sam here?
Nope.
Nope.
online? No?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Is Bill there? Down here. Hello, Bill. Do you want to stand up and say a few words? Sure. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm Bill Spargrove. I live at 10852 Essex Square, Hampton, and I'm a longtime participant in recreational activities. And so I mentioned to Carrie that if there's a place for me to help out somehow, that I might be interested in doing that. But of course, having just listened to this meeting, I'm not sure what exactly I would be doing. It sounds pretty complex to me. From the standpoint of some of the activities that are going on. I was a high school principal for many years, guidance counselor before that, and an art teacher. I always thought it'd be really cool to have some kind of art activity in this community. If you guys want to provide me with about 10 potter's wheels, a kiln, and a place to do it, I'd be glad to teach it. But there's a lot of things the community has going for it, for sure. And I think some of the things I see happening are definitely going to improve that. One of the things that is important to me, because Carrie knows this, I love to swim. I swim laps 4 times a week. The pool has been kind of an opportunity for some people to get rather agitated. I'm not sure why that is, but it's been controversial over the years. And so I remember I tried to get into a meeting here one time when it was #1 agenda item. I don't know if any of you were around, and they were talking about turning it over to the county.
Turning into a what?
To the county. This is many years ago, and it's one of these things that is a primary reason why I keep staying in Gateway. I've actually moved in Gateway 4 times, but I haven't moved out of Gateway because I love that pool. So I'm a big advocate of the pool. I think it's underutilized for sure. I always thought it'd be great to have, swim teams maybe use it, other types of things, but it really isn't used as much as it probably could be. But I'm not sure if anybody's even attempted those kinds of things in the past. But the reason that I'm interested in recreation is because if you're not, you're probably going to wish you were, because it kind of keeps you active. And I'm getting up there in years where it's important to take care of myself as best I can. So I think that we get young people started. I mean, I was really devastated. The pool, let me go back a few years, because it was 2007 when I moved down here. And the pool had, at that time, a playground next to it. It wasn't a very good location. It wasn't maintained very well. But the idea of having a playground next to a pool that closed, I think, provided parents with an opportunity to do things outside of the water too. Maybe that wasn't the best location, but that disappeared. I think it was there maybe 2 or 3 years and it was gone, which is unfortunate. So when I heard the plan for this development, building a new building, adding pickleball courts or whatever it might be, I think that just encourages more people to consider this community, and also to have, family activities where you can do walking. You can have your kids at a playground. Some kids could be swimming, just multiple possibilities there. So I thought that was a great idea. And now that I did go to the shovels in the dirt. And I think it was great that that's finally started. Because there's been a lot of skepticism that maybe it's not gonna happen, but it appears that it will. I'm glad to see that. And I look forward to that happening. We had, just for your information, does anyone live in Hampton here? Hampton has converted a pickleball, I should say a basketball court into 3 pickleball courts. I don't know if you're aware of that. But it's full, like 3 or 4 or 5 times a week. And I think that everybody would love to see maybe more pickleball courts, certainly. And the proximity to my community, it's a 1.5 miles from where I live to the swimming pool, which I ride my bike to every day. And it's, or when I go, it's very convenient. And proximity is important for families. It's certainly important to me. I don't play golf unless it's close by. I'm a proximity golfer. So Westminster is pretty close and Gateway, of course, is close. But if I have to drive to Ave Maria to play golf, I'm not going to do it. It's not. So proximity is important, I think, for all those activities. I don't know if you have any questions for me, but feel free to ask me anything.
Start by saying, I think you have the qualifications to be on this committee. We're all different. And we all are talking about things that we've talked about for maybe a year and a half. The pool, I think this committee, the people on this committee, especially with Carrie now here, she's our best thing we've got going. But the pool was one of the things that I started in this community to help resurrect and save. Okay.
Thank you.
And I jumped on it and a lot of people helped me and helped each other to where we've got something really nice now. It's an amenity that we're gonna fight to keep. Okay, so the pool is, everything's being, in my mind, being built around that pool.
Mhm.
Okay, and those other things are gonna help that pool become more successful. We're gonna get more people there. This committee put together an idea and voted on a children's playground, which is laying in a box outside the fence. If
Oh,
you
that's
see
what,
that.
I was gonna ask you what that,
That's gonna be the new playground, and it's really a contemporary, really nice playground for kids of all different sizes to play. And so that's, as soon as the ground gets moved around a little bit, that's gonna go in place. And, I give this committee, that it's people like you and the people that are on this committee that are trying to get things to happen. That's going to be a benefit to everybody in Gateway. Okay.
It's a good
It's not
plan.
that big, but it is,
Mhm.
and each little area has their own little pools and their own little things and stuff like that. And some people don't see the forest for the trees. They don't see the value in having a community pool or a community pavilion or a community, places to play. Okay, and one of the things that we're gonna talk about a little later is the fun park, which I want to change the name of. But anyway, the idea of the fun park is the place where kids can learn how to play.
Mhm.
Like you send them to school in the 5th grade, I played college basketball, so you go to school in the 5th grade and you have to know how to play the game. Or you get cut from the team and you never get to play again and you feel like a loser. I always played. I never set the bench. But all these other little kids were sent home. All my friends were sent home. And that didn't make sense. So the idea of the fun park, okay, which we're gonna call hopefully a skills park, is where kids come to learn how to play. And people like you and me and the people that know how to play basketball or throw a ball or know how to jump or know how to run, they can still do it. I can't do it anymore, but we can help kids learn how to do that. So when they go over to the Commons Park, where all the big kids play on basketball courts that come down on your back with your elbows, okay, you'll know how to deal with that if you're a kid. Okay, and that's what we need, your help. People like you, people that are out here in the audience to help us make that come true. Not just have a field over there that kids can go over there do whatever.
Can't help you with
Or drink or Do
basketball.
whatever they want.
No, not basketball.
Right?
I grew up in Iowa. We wrestle in Iowa.
Well, nobody from Iowa can play. Caitlin Clark can't play.
Well, no, she can't.
There.
Any other comments or questions?
But,
I-
I'm sorry,
No, I'm done.
and you're gonna hear, you would have heard tonight discussions about money and construction and what this is costing. I don't think anybody up here claims to be an expert on any of that. Some may have more other talents that they could bring to the table, but I wouldn't use what you may have heard as something to, in your mind, say, I don't know if I'm gonna fit in here. This discussion. You don't have to be an expert at anything necessarily, but you know, everybody has something to bring to the table.
Oh, it's
You
good.
just have to have ideas.
Oh, I got ideas.
Yeah, Bill, I appreciate you talking about the pool. For me, we're over in West Haven. We don't have those amenities. We don't have, the small, community over there, 76 units. So we don't have a pool, we don't have pickleball, we don't have anything. So the amenities within Gateway property really important for us. So, the pool is the kind of first thing that I got involved with down here and near and dear to my heart too, so I definitely appreciate that.
And I just,
Cameras on, and so Paul, I think we have Bill up here as interested in, so do you make, first of all, you mentioned at first, so are you still interested? And then I think then we talk about next steps. Are you
Right.
telling what the next steps are?
well, I need to talk to Carrie a little bit more
Oh,
about
all right.
what it entails. I am retired and my wife plans these trips sometimes, and so I want to make sure the scheduling is gonna be something I can. And I just noticed that it's a 3-minute limit here. You should have told me that.
Sorry.
Well, let me just throw this out here. Pretty much we meet, and I don't know if you heard in the beginning, but we meet once a month.
Yeah.
Unless something major is pressing, and then we might meet twice a month. But there is a, opportunity, we have a few nights and we have mainly during the daytime, which, you're retired, so not too bad for you. And then, so once a month is not bad. And trying to get everybody together for that. I mean, we have people that miss due to work, due to vacations. We understand that. We're not expecting a 12 out of 12 attendance like you do in
So
school.
there's 12 people on the advisory.
No, there's 12 times we meet a year.
Oh, 12 times.
But there is a time where they might say, we don't have anything on the agenda for, August,
And skip it.
and they skip that month.
Okay.
So just kind of throwing that out there to you.
Well, I think what we could
Sure.
do then, as far as next steps is, I'd like to make a motion to invite Bill to join us. Provided that, you agree, right? So
Right.
you take that internally and talk to Carrie, but I'd like to make a motion to, so the next steps would be that if we, all agree to that, is we would bring that, to the board and they would approve it. That would be it.
Okay.
Is that
Well,
acceptable?
yeah, and I see Carrie 3 or 4 times a week, so I'll make sure, I'll talk to my wife about this.
Yeah.
She knows I'm here tonight, but I think it'd be important for her to have a better idea what we're talking about.
So I'd like to make
So-
a motion to invite Bill
Appreciate
to
it.
join us. Seconds it, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're not related to Babe Ruth.
I am.
Are you?
My dad's second cousin. was
Oh,
Babe Ruth. And I couldn't speak about Babe Ruth until my father passed away at age 91. Because the family owed money to the mob in New York. And I swear as I'm.
Take it over.
I was on.
Paul.
I was on a baseball, I was on a baseball team.
On the record.
I know.
Recording.
Okay.
No idea.
It was what he's talking right now. Anyway,
Oh, my God.
It's-
Thank you.
All right,
All right, last.
where are we? So
We're-
public comment, any public comment? Oh, Okay, we talked about the fun park a little bit. Let's go into a little more.
Time out.
Yep, absolutely.
What about this
Let's go.
other
Let's talk
gentleman
about
that
it.
didn't show up and he's been in the hopper for 2 times in a row? Was he told about the meeting?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
yes.
You know, my feeling is,
Well, I have a problem that people don't really want to show up, but they just want to get the paperwork in.
Well, this,
So,
this would be the second.
This would be it.
Yeah, he has
yeah, so.
good qualifications.
Yeah.
He filled the papers out.
Sure.
But,
But it's the second time.
we'll give him a third time to come next time. But you don't agree with that?
Yeah, and just so that I'm clear, if Bill ultimately says in the next day or two, he doesn't want any part of this. What, do we have to wait a month before we decide we're gonna advertise this again, or can we advertise
We
it?
could advertise it, but
Advertise at any time.
yeah,
Yeah,
we could advertise it through, and then that's fine.
Can there be 8 people on the,
No,
No, 7,
why?
because it's,
because it's either 5 or 7.
Who made that rule?
no, it's already established rules. It's already established for the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, Advisory Committee. It's up to 7 members.
Okay,
Do we want to see if he could come next time? But the problem is, so here's the issue with that. If Bill decides to join us,
There's no,
then there's no available,
There's not available.
once you table,
there's no available, what?
table. Table,
Table it?
meaning, let's wait to see what Bill does, and you can always discuss it in the,
And I'll let Carrie know tomorrow.
Okay,
so.
that sounds good.
He's not one of those guys that.
I
let
think
it
motion to
linger.
table the additional member till next time.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
right,
Aye.
right.
Right. I'm good, fun park.
fun park. All right, the beginning sheet of the fun park was basically, let me put my glasses on so I can read here. We need approval, or I would like to see approval to change the name of the fun park to the Gateway Skills Park based on its new design concept. We've been talking about this for almost a year now. And, I think the concept of the fun park is, let me say this, the very first thing I did was to say, we have an idea. And we didn't have any houses on here, okay? So basically, to start with, again, I just put a package together, which I'm hoping that someone will take and introduce this to the CDD people, Board of Supervisors. And take some of these images and use it in a very similar way that we did the pavilion. Here's the very first image, which basically shows the parking, the basketball court, the volleyball court, and the children's playground. And then there's a connector that goes from the parking to the basketball court. And it kind of gives you a feeling of perimeter plantings that were conceptually thought of when we were gonna put a dog park there. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, so I went into that first thing on Google Earth and found basically the setbacks and kind of the floor plans for each of the houses. So I kind of put those on there. This are conceptual houses. They aren't the exact roof forms,
Sure.
but they do show things that happen along the way, along the backside and the end of the skills park, along with the parking and everything else. Okay, keep going. Okay, well, as we talked about this thing back in April, we were talking about, we came up with about 13. I had at one time about 13 of these little images here to say, what could this be? Okay, and I went through with everybody here and everybody gave feedback. We talked about a labyrinth in the middle. We talked about putting something down at the end, closer to the housing, and coming up with a garden club for the community. everybody in Gateway, anybody in Gateway could be part of that. And we could do plantings down at the very end, by the labyrinth. And to make a track or an area which kids can dribble basketballs, can run, people can race, can do whatever, around the entire park. And in the middle, there's a field. Okay, and then along the way, there's 10 different places where exercises could be done. Okay, so let's keep going. This is really kind of what we're wanting the people of the Board of Supervisors to give us some permission with, is we have an idea that we really think is going to be the framework plan for this entire field. Okay, and here's a track. You see the track, you see the round part in the middle, which we could put anything in there. Okay, but that's considering conceptually was where the labyrinth took place. And at the ends, along the way or in the way, we could do plantings of any kind. So what we want is we want the parking lot to be, if it needs to be fixed at all. We need the basketball court. Okay, we just need, that to be brought up to where kids can play.
Yeah.
And we need the playground to be worked on a little bit and fixed. So we need some monies for that. And then the framework of the track. Okay, keep going. This is kind of like the plan that everybody's kind of on this group has seen. You haven't seen it, but the idea in the middle is the circular meditation labyrinth with games and reading areas for people to come and kind of sit in these, like there's 4 quadrants. People could go in there and play chess or whatever. There's new landscaping around the perimeter to buffer the housing of Pinecrest and Eagle Ridge. Eagle Point, I'm sorry. And Florida Nature Club Gardens, you can see those kind of sprinkled along the end, along with the possibility of in the potential future restrooms, if affordable. And then maybe down here where the children's playground is, that could be reworked into a better playground later on with more monies. And the idea of maybe some victory gardens on half the basketball court. I don't think we're going to need, once the Commons Park is in place, I don't think we're going to need an entire existing basketball court that's full court. I think that's where you start to bring people in from other areas, unless there's a big fence put around this, where people will come and that's where they'll want to play. That's where I would have gone when I was in high school to play. Okay, so we're saying take half of it, let the kids play, the smaller kids, and put in a victory garden where people can maybe rent the space or do something so they can plant their own plants along the way. There's a couple places here in this area where we live that have places where what they call victory gardens. Okay, and then maybe a butterfly garden up in the upper southwestern corner. We went through and we did a priority list a long time ago. That's kind of the wording of what all of this is. I won't go through and read this, but keep and maintain the existing children's playground, resurface the existing basketball court, keep the existing parking lot, and develop a loop framework plan as an organizing element for the future development of the park. That's the first step that we want to be given permission to do. That's why I was saying, can we get a cost for that? Because if you brought this to me and I'm on the board of supervisors, first thing I'm going to say is, well, what's this going to cost? And I can't say, well, you told us never to talk about cost. So I think sometimes you have to have a guesstimate of what that might be. But they want us to come there first before they waste their time or take their time to do a cost estimate. Keep going. So putting the housing in and trying different images, I just tried to come up with different images, looking down, aerial, looking down with the housing and stuff in the perimeter. Here's another shot of the same thing. All of these are just images that we can use. You can see down at the end where the circles and the lines are those are basically meant to be a cartoon of gardens that could be planted, and those could be planted by the community. We could have little signs that say what each plant is. I don't know about you, but I've spent a lot of money on my home, putting neat little plants in everywhere, and half of them have died because I didn't know what I was doing. But I've got a lot of neat plants that have survived, so that I could help with that, but I could also help with the ones that shouldn't be. Okay, keep going. Just different versions of the same thing. These are aerial views looking west, looking east. And so you can see on each end what's being thought of. There's the labyrinth, the idea for the labyrinth, and the little places, the 4 places, and the entrance piece that you can go into. There could be something in the middle that basically, that you can see from a distance. Could be a light, could be whatever. Wait a minute, I want to go back. And these little boxes here are little areas that simple things that kids can use, like a pull-up bar, or a hole to jump into, or a pole to climb, or just an inclined plane that you can run up and run down, or boxes where you can jump from one box to the other and learn how to jump better. Okay, kids do that all the time, and that's how kids are now dunking the basketball every time. One of them gets it. Everybody can run faster, can jump higher. Now, keep going. That's the other end, showing the basketball court, half basketball court with a fence around it, and the victory gardens, which I've always thought if you're gonna have victory gardens, you've got to contain that so people don't go over and steal your vegetables. Anyway, the other end, you see the labyrinth, you see the track, the framework. And some of these are better than others, but whoever was speaking about it, trying to sell it. This was the framework pathway for the skills park. These were the dimensions and stuff I gave to Carrie, and they basically sent it back and said, we appreciate the numbers and stuff, but you need to get this thing approved as an idea first, which I buy. Okay. And down there at the bottom is my name, a member of PrAC. And the only thing I did wrong on the whole thing is I gave you the wrong phone.
Chris,
You didn't want anybody to call you.
No, my
Anyone good?
Pam
Yeah.
said, you gave me the wrong phone number. It's 614-902-0773.
That's pretty funny.
Okay,
That's funny.
so I thought that was kind of funny, but
Okay,
that's everything. And I'm gonna ask, two volunteers. Ed's gonna be one.
Yeah.
And someone else to work with Ed to put together a presentation to go to CDD with it. Board of Supervisors, and present this in, I want to say end of April.
Sure. Makes
Okay.
sense.
If I could just ask couple of things. The idea of a fun skills park, when did that first come up? And who came up with the idea?
We came up with it as a group. I mean, it was like
was
many people. These 2 people, she was in the audience at the time.
To answer on timing, I think
Yeah.
it was when the whole dog park, and we had lots of interested parties who were not interested in that. So it evolved into, well, how about?
What are you interested in? What would you like to see?
Well,
And
So I'd say a year and a half ago, maybe?
Yeah.
okay, like a lot of things for me personally, number one, it comes down to what is this gonna cost? Number two, who's gonna use it? And if you say residents of Gateway, are we gonna regulate that? How are we gonna monitor who's using this? This isn't gonna come cheap, and I thank you for pulling this together. I could not have done this myself, so I appreciate the work. But speaking as a resident of Gateway for a second and taking off my hat that I wear when I come here. I want to know how much this costs and who's gonna be monitoring this? Are people from the outside gonna be using this, or would they have access to this? I'd be very upset if I had to pay for this and find out later on, but like a lot of people who didn't help pull this together, using the services and getting the benefit from it?
A good question, Ken. And it's a continuous concern with community building. It's like, well, okay, so we're investing in this for our community, but you talk about security and you talk about, you start putting fences around everything. It's a question that we ask every meeting and it's always a concern, right? And I think although those are important things, we kind of have to pie in the sky to a certain extent and be like, we want something like this in our community first, right? Like, let's make sure that we understand the benefits and that we could all agree on, something like this is beneficial because. And then we have to consider all those things, right? I don't want to approach it from, I don't want to sound naive, I don't want to approach it from a non-cost perspective. But I don't want the cost to be, or the security to be the reason why we don't bring these ideas up.
Oh, I see the benefits to the community as a way for people, young people, children to come together and do things,
Right.
right? Again, I hate you coming back to the cost factor, but that is a big nut to have to crack. And because of that and what it's going to cost, I personally need some assurances, of who's gonna use this and how we're gonna make sure that the right people are using it. And by right people, I'm talking about the residents of Gateway who have a financial interest in it.
Yeah, I also think it lends towards property values too, right? So I think, although we'd like to say like when we open something like this, what are the guaranteed people that are gonna use it, right? We'd like to have that, but the reality is more along the lines, do our property values go up because of it? And do we become a more desirable place to be because of the things like the community pavilion and these kind of things? So I understand where you're coming from and I continue to ask those questions too. Do I have the answer? I don't know how we get those answers. That's the thing.
So this is Tamara Zahn, and I have a question. That's a great point. I appreciate that. So earlier you said that we've been told that we're just the ideas team, right?
Right.
So this is an idea. So at what point, and maybe Carrie, you can answer this and we take it to the Board of Supervisors, but at what point does this get together and then the Board of Supervisors looks at it, the cost comes in, and then how do we ask the residents? Is there a survey that goes out, a proposal that goes out? Because it shouldn't be just us going, yeah, we're gonna do this and we're gonna spend this money, right? That shouldn't be how it works.
Well, if it comes down to what the board ultimately decides, it's a wonderful idea, we'll just raise taxes.
Well, that's why I'm asking the process. It's not just, it shouldn't even be just the board. It should be, hey, let's go.
It's a process that we did the same thing with the Commons Park. Okay, we go out, we do a presentation. We say what phases we're going to do and what time of the year. So obviously this wouldn't come till later after the Commons is done. You would say phase 1 would be the track. We would like to put this in this time of the, this time of the year. Phase 2, phase 3. But you would do a presentation, you would do a survey, all those things have to come into play before you add anything into a park facility. Just because we're coming up with ideas. This is what we're doing to present to the board, and then they pretty much give the blessing to go forward.
Quotes on cost aren't coming much later.
Right, because
In votes.
yeah, in votes, correct.
When we first put this together, and I got like 3 pages that I didn't include in this, but it was basically a new idea is to design a fun neighborhood park, one that conceptually could be, and there's like 6 things that we listed, a place that is an extension to everyone's properties, a big or bigger yard to play in. Most of us don't have big enough yards for our kids if we have kids to play in. So this would be over there for them. A place to develop a person's skills to be able to participate, compete, and have fun doing physical activities. You gotta keep in mind, what is it now? It's just a big field and basketball court. Anybody can go there and anybody can do whatever. The playground's the same way. A place for families to interact, learn, and teach the art of successful body movement. A place to play outside, to get people out of the house, away from computers, phones, and TVs. I think most people that have had children would like to see something like that. A place to practice running, throwing, exercising, etc. A place to develop one's physical body skills and in a neighborhood park designed with 5 to 10 workout stations to enable all age users to improve their mobility, agility, accuracy, and health, etc. You know, a lot of places like the kids of, I don't imagine, okay, the kids of Lehigh or any other place that's not associated with Gateway coming here, they got a street. I grew up playing on a street.
Yeah.
Okay, playing on sidewalks. You know, I would run sidewalk and we would set up a quarter mile and try to race each other. So what we're putting there is not something that I think is going to really pull people here. A full court basketball court will bring the kids of Lehigh. And I don't have, you know, based on my background, I don't have a problem with if you want to compete later on in sports. You know, you gotta have the best kids come and play. And that's gonna happen at the Commons Park, whether anybody likes it or not, whether they put a big fence around it or not. They're gonna be in that full court basketball court that's got light. Okay, but here, this is just a place where mom and dad or somebody could go over and play with their kid. And, you know, chase each other and run around the court and, you know, not build something that's so spectacular that every kid wants to go over there and lift weights.
Yeah.
Or do things that would pull them from the community that they live in.
This would also,
Like I
Harry,
think
this would
you
also
said, if
go
it's close,
before-
you'll go. If it's not close, you're not going.
And part, and I'm just gonna throw this out there, a neighborhood park, it primarily serves residents within a quarter mile of that area. So, as long as there's no physical or social barriers. And, you know, we have the power lines is gonna be a main back and forth to the Commons Park. From the Commons Park right over into that neighborhood park. So, when we grew up, we had neighborhood parks, but they weren't within a quarter mile. You had to really ride your bike. This gives that opportunity. This is a backup for the littler kids. They might not all want to go to one location at the Commons Park. This gives them somewhere else to go. And you put a playground associated with that as well.
but ultimately this would go before the CDD, which would put it out to the public for comment. How would it work? If we got past this stage?
Well, it has to be, first of all, you would go to the Board of Supervisors to get their blessing. And then from there, it would go into the CDD and they would go the same process we did for the Commons Park. They go out for survey, kind of ideas of what they would like to see in that park. Just because, you know, Dave spent all that time with all these drawings and stuff, they might like certain things, but then I might like other things to be put in there. And then it would get approved. They would throw costs in there. It would go back out to the public. You know, it's constantly going back. It's a long process.
So ultimately the public will have an opportunity to
Oh,
review it.
It's not just us, Board of Supervisors, and it's done.
It's the same with the dog.
Yeah,
You know, the dog, it was quite clear that the dog park was not wanted.
right.
So, you know, and that was the public.
All right, so maybe it's a discussion for another time.
Well, it's a continuing discussion.
Continuing.
That's the thing. I just want you to understand that I definitely agree with what you're saying about cost. It's always a big thing in the back of my brain, but at the same time, this should be a creative process too. That's kind of what I enjoy here. It's like pie in the sky. What do we want this place to be? Let's start there. And then we'll worry about the security and the costs and all that.
When I look at this thing, I feel like we probably had 50 people put in information in here. And the one thing I think I do well is I listen and I give, you know, I try to convince everything to where everybody's getting a piece of it. So that's, I mean,
Okay.
that's,
Let's kind of
Wrap it.
wind this down. I do have, any reports before you guys start your reports? I just want to say the Gateway Services CDD Parks and Recreation Youth Fishing Derby is this Saturday. Start time for fishing is at 8 a.m. It's gonna be next to the Commons Pool, right off Gateway Boulevard. And if you're interested, 239-561-1313. It's $10 per kid. It goes from 8 to 10, and then we award prizes, award trophies at the end, and then we have some giveaways.
Okay, don't need their fishing license, right?
Nope. Catch and release.
Veterans, no license. Okay. Awesome. Okay, next meeting agenda.
April 1st.
I'm not done over here yet. I've got a packet of information. If Ed was here, I'd be giving it to him.
So you can give it to me.
Okay.
I'm gonna,
And we'll give it to you.
yes,
Okay. But I'd like to see Ed and Tamara work together on packaging this and putting together a presentation to to the board of supervisors.
okay, if.
Would you be willing to do that? This is your neighborhood, right?
Yeah, it
Just-
is, it is my neighborhood. I'll talk to Ed and see.
Okay, well,
Okay.
you guys gotta be careful what you do. Remember?
Well, right, but
You
if,
can't do it
You have to, as a group,
no, you can't do
you
that.
can't do it as a group, so
That's the thing,
I
like,
couldn't give it to Ed and to
Give
work
it
it
to-
for
give it to
Jerry,
Paul.
right?
so I could always pass it to Ed too.
Yes, you can pass it
That's
down.
that's
I'll have it.
my only copy.
All right,
Okay. So next meeting agenda, I will report back, of
okay,
course, right? That's April 1st.
yes, correct. April 1st, afternoon.
4 PM. I'll report back on how the presentation goes for the pavilion at that time.
they meet twice a month, correct?
The
Yes.
Board of directors, yeah.
So your presentation will be at the second meeting, when would
They've
you?
already had theirs, or no,
No, this
On
week is the
Thursday.
first, right, on the sixth?
right, I'm gonna present at the end of the month.
Yeah.
So whatever. the week
Going-
after that is.
20.
The 20th, I think it is.
Right.
Then the other item on the agenda maybe could be like what we did, if we're ready on, for your presentation, we could work on that,
Yes.
kind of tweak it, give input.
Yep.
And do it as part of the meeting.
Correct.
Okay, cool, sounds good.
And depending on what Bo decides to do, we may or may not have a discussion about.
About
Well,
this
that's fine.
number, yep. That should do it. All right,
That's great.
thanks for all your time,
Yeah,
folks.
motion to adjourn.
Nothing else, I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
10 seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, have a good